Hello, everybody. Can't tell if anybody's joined yet. Let me do this. So real quick, I'm just starting off. I'm getting it set up. This is the first time I've ever done YouTube live. So I'm gonna need y'all to help me. I'm gonna load it up on my computer. I'm doing this on my phone. I'm like multitasking all over the place. So hang tight. Let me just see how this thing works. All right, so I got my computer over here. Let me check this out. Ooh, it shows I'm live now. I'm gonna do a sound test real quick because I don't know. I'm using this like little mic right here. I don't know if that works, so let me double check real quick.
Let me double check.
Oh, it does work. It's kind of loud though, huh? Ugh. So, there we go. All right, let's see if that works. How's that sound?
All right, let's see if that works.
Okay.
How's that sound? All right.
That sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty dang good. All right, cool. So, let me see if I can see the chat in case any of you have any questions. Let me scroll down a little bit. Oh, this is pretty cool. YouTube Live is pretty legit. What's up? Alright, cool. It looks like somebody joined. Alright. So, alright, I think I'm set up. I think everything's set up. I do things with such short notice. I wonder how this works if I share it on my Facebook page. Let's see how that works. So I do this with such short notice and everybody's like, oh no, they're all scrambling. But the cool thing is, like, one of the reasons I'm doing this, not only to start getting people to start going to the YouTube channel, but also it makes it a lot easier for me. So I only got to upload it once instead of like doing it on Facebook and then putting it on YouTube. Like, have you guys heard about those like internet caps that they're doing now, where like if you reach a certain amount of data, like then they start charging you more, or they start like throttling your internet? I ain't about that life. So if I can save a little bit of data, that's cool with me. So let me check this out real quick, see how this works if I post it. Whoever's in here right now, just hang tight for a minute. Just trying something out. Live now on the YouTube channel. All right, let's see how that works. Does it work? All right, let's see what this post looks like. All right, thanks for joining me. Yeah, do me a favor. Tell me who you are in the chat. I can't see like who's in here. Can you guys all see the chat? Yeah? This quality is pretty good. I went out and got a little stand and a light for my thing. Alright. Nobody's talking in the chat. I don't know if the chat works. So anyways, I'm going to take a sip of this coffee. So, something very cool happened. This is what I love. This is what I love about the community and the people who follow the Rewired Soul and stuff. I don't know if you're in here, but your name is Jacob. Jacob, thank you. Thank you so much. Like, Jacob just shot me a message at the Rewired Soul Facebook page. He's like, hey, don't know if you saw this or not. And I was like, what's this? And then I click on it, and it was some exciting news. And I'm just now learning about it. So I'm going to be kind of going through this and give you my reaction to it, and we're going to talk about it. So anyways, it looks like this actually came out on August 2nd, and I wish they would have done more news about this. I don't know why people don't talk about the opioid crisis. Like, this should be all over the news. Like, I follow like different news organizations like Philip DeFranco, the Young Turks, other news outlets. You know, I don't really have like cable, so I don't watch that news. But like, when something like this happens, like, they need to be talking about it. Like, I don't get it. But anyways, so this came out on August 2nd, which was last month, about a month ago. But anyway, so I guess I'll start this video off talking a little bit about, you know, I had a video a few weeks ago talking about Jeff Sessions and the opioid crisis, and I had some not too great words about it. But you know, I was underinformed about it. And maybe it's because, and this is an excuse, but the video I saw, it was mainly talking about the just bringing back the DARE program, and the DARE program's like, whatever. And he only barely touched on the actual prescription drug epidemic. But it turns out Wednesday, August 2nd, so last month, it says, the title of this article is, and I'll put it in the comments, it says, Attorney General Sessions announces Opioid Fraud and Abuse Detection Unit. That is some cool stuff. So I'll put a link to it in the chat, and if I figure out how to for the posting on this, I'll talk about how, or that way you can check it out, but I'll put it in the description of this. So anyways, I'm going to read the first part about it just to give you kind of an overview of what this is. So it says, Attorney General Jeff Sessions today announced the formation of the Opioid Fraud and Abuse Detection Unit, a new Department of Justice pilot program to utilize data to help combat the devastating opioid crisis that is ravaging families and communities across America. Speaking at the Columbus Police Academy today, Attorney General Sessions said that the new Opioid Fraud and Abuse Detection Unit will focus specifically on opioid-related healthcare fraud using data to identify and prosecute individuals that are contributing to this prescription opioid epidemic. Additionally, as part of the program, the department will fund 12 experienced assistant United States attorneys for a 3-year term to focus solely on investigating and prosecuting healthcare fraud related healthcare fraud related to prescription opioids, including pill mill schemes and pharmacies that unlawfully divert or dispense prescription opioids for illegitimate purposes. So I'll stop right there. Like, that is that is magnificent, Mr. Jeff Sessions. That's amazing. And one of the things is, like you've seen in the other videos I do, we talk about how, you know, just the stigma about addiction and people just like, oh, these addicts, they have a choice and they're making awful decisions and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. And what so many people don't realize, especially when it comes to the opioid crisis, most heroin addicts start with prescription medications. And this is for a couple reasons. One of them is we prescribe 81% of the world's entire supply of opioids, which is nuts, but also we overprescribe. That's the second issue. So if any of you watching this have ever received a prescription for opioids, they typically aren't going to give you like 3 or 4 to, you know, get you through, you know, the next 24 hours. They're going to give you like a bottle of like 30, and they're like, oh, better give you as many as we can get. So they overprescribe it. When you overprescribe, you increase the chances of dependency, of substance abuse, of addiction, because it progresses. But the other thing that's just amazing about this is that they're talking about like looking for these pill mill schemes and pharmacies that are unlawfully distributing this stuff. So I remember when I was in my active addiction, because I was a prescription drug addict. Prescription opioids, didn't really like Xanax or anything like that. But anyways, I remember like some of the people that I got pills from here in Nevada specifically. There was these doctor's offices where people would line up. A doctor's office would have a line around the corner because people were coming in, paying a ridiculous price, but it was cheaper than buying them off the street. They would pay a ridiculous price, and they were just going in there, walking in, getting a prescription, and walking out. And that's just what they were doing. And it was absolutely crazy. Like, when you're an addict like me, like when you're in your active addiction, that's like the coolest thing you've ever heard. That's like, yeah, right? But like, now that I'm in recovery and I see the devastation that it causes and all that other type of stuff, it's like, man, like, how does this go on? So one thing is, I know for a fact that Nevada cracked down on it hard. Like, I remember it must have been maybe like a year or 2 after I got clean. There was a bunch of doctor's offices that got shut down, and that's cool. Now, when it comes to the over prescribing of these medications, I'll be 100% honest with you. My prescription pill addiction to opioids started off when my son was born and she had a C-section. They gave her 100 Loratabs, 100, and trust me, like, as much as I can know about a woman's experience about a C-section, I know that she was in pain and it was brutal, but like the severity of the pain does not typically equate to just give them more pills, because you can only take so many pills, you know what I mean? So that doesn't mean they should have given her 100. And then what I ended up doing was go, oh, these make my my girlfriend sick. Can we get a different type? So we ended up with 200 pills, and there's like no regulation on that. We could just go and do that. So it's really cool that they're having this whole unit dedicated to looking at this. And here's the next piece of great news. All right, so the following districts have been selected to participate in the program. So those of you just joining us, they have announced the Opioid Fraud and Abuse Detection Unit. So there are 12 districts that are getting this unit. So the first one is the Middle District of Florida. Boom, that is amazing. Florida is screwed up right now. Like when it comes to drugs, like the stories coming out of Florida, I really need to do a video on that. Like, if you all don't know what's going down in Florida, like with some places, not all the places, but some places, like you better ask somebody. Like go Google it, just type in patient brokering and stuff like that. So Florida's getting kind of messed up. So the first place is Middle District of Florida. Next one is Eastern District of Michigan. If any of you watching this are from these areas, like leave in the comments, let me know like what's going on in those areas, because Michigan I wasn't really aware of. Northern District of Alabama. Now this isn't, so something I do, and I don't know if this is like stereotyping or what, but it's just based on experience. The rehab I work at, 90% of our clients come from all over the country. So I hear about the drugs of choices in different areas. So typically in certain areas, I can kind of like guess what the drug of choice is. So getting back to it, they're doing the Northern District of Alabama and then the Eastern District of Tennessee. Typically in those areas, or Alabama mostly, I would assume meth. I don't know about prescription opioids, but there might be. I need to investigate that. Eastern District of Tennessee, I do know they have a prescription opioid problem out there. Now, here's a cool one for your Las Vegas boy right here. The District of Nevada. That is legit. Like, let me tell you, I did my video a few weeks ago about the Narcan training I did. Nevada is slaying it. Like, we are just killing it when it comes to battling addiction and the opioid crisis and all this other stuff. Like, and like, for those of you who don't know, like Nevada ranks like on the bottom, like aside from like tourism and like food and all that other stuff that fuels our economy. Like when it comes to like school districts and stuff like that, like we're usually at the bottom of the list. So like as a Las Vegan, I get like really like, yeah, like to know that like, especially the thing that I really am passionate about and care about, like it's cool to see that we're actually allocating a lot of resources to it. Now, you know, I am a father, so I should really care about the school district stuff, but one battle at a time. So number 6, the Eastern District of Kentucky. Oh, check this out. District of Maryland. That's cool because the Northeast has been getting blasted with opioids for a while now. And that's the thing too. So one of the issues in the Northeast, which I don't know how many of you realize, is that there's a really crazy trend in the Northeast part of the United States. Like there's data out there, okay? And I know this because I used to have to do a lot of research when I was doing freelance writing. And there's this data out there that shows like during certain years, like the primary reasons people were entering rehabs were for alcohol and prescription drugs. And as time went on, you see less people going in there for alcohol. You start to see more people coming in for heroin, and over the last few years, people have been going in there even less for prescription opioids and alcohol, and it's mainly heroin. And like when you start reading in between the lines of these statistics, like what I see from those statistics is that more people are going straight to heroin in the Northeast, which is crazy because usually heroin isn't the first drug you try. Usually you start off with a prescription opioid. All right, so District of Maryland, number 8, Western District of Pennsylvania, The Southern District of Ohio. Ohio, that's huge too. Like, I don't know if you all have been following this, but in the last year or so, maybe even longer, maybe a year and a half to 2 years, Ohio has been just like one of the worst places in the country for the opioid epidemic. The Eastern District of California, I wonder where that is. Eastern District, huh, that's weird. Because most places like on the western part of California. Number 11 is the Middle District of North Carolina, and number 12 is the Southern District of West Virginia. I have a ton of clients come in from West Virginia because of the opioid crisis out there too. Like, from what I've heard about recent data and just from what I see from clients who enter into treatment, like, Ohio is here and West Virginia is like right there. So that's crazy. But anyways, this is all good stuff. So all these places, they're being part of this pilot program where they're going to be cracking down on doctors, pharmacies, and all these other places overprescribing or illegally prescribing these medications. So here's what Attorney Jeff Sessions actually said. He says, "First, I am announcing a new data and analytics program, the Opioid Fraud and Abuse Detection Unit. I have created this unit to focus specifically on opioid-related healthcare fraud using data to identify and prosecute individuals that are contributing to this opioid epidemic. This sort of analytics team can tell us important information about prescription opioids, like which physicians are writing opioid prescriptions at a rate that far exceeds their peers." Like, how sick is that? Part of what they are doing is, like, say in Las Vegas, they're going to get data from all of the other doctors in town and see who is prescribing the most amount of opioids. And then they're going to go at them and say, like, do you just happen to get the most people who are in pain? And I'm sure there's certain, like, doctors who do get people who are more in pain. Like, a surgeon's probably going to get more people than, you know, the regular family doctor, you know what I mean? But that is some cool stuff. They're going to be looking at this. So it says, like, which physicians are writing opioid prescriptions at a rate that far exceed their peers? How many of a doctor's patients died within 60 days of an opioid prescription? That right there is huge too. See, part of the issue that we see, what up, Busy? Hey, if any of you are watching this, go check out Busy Vlogs. He's coming up. He's been around, but he's coming up. He helps me out a lot too. But anyways, so check it. Like, one of the issues is that not only are we seeing that more and more people are dying of opioid overdoses and more stronger opioids are being introduced in the United States. So we started off with, like, things like Loratabs and Percocets, and then Oxycontin became the big thing. Then it was morphine, right? Then comes heroin and stuff like that. But now, 2017, and this has been going on longer than 2017. Hell, fentanyl was around when I got clean 5 years ago, and it's been around longer than that. But, like, fentanyl, you never heard of anybody using fentanyl. Like, you never heard of it. Now fentanyl is all over the place, and then there's carfentanil too. So the issue is that, see, some narratives that you hear is that we're trying to blame places like China for bringing in fentanyl, and it's absolutely true. Like, don't get me wrong, it is very true. Fentanyl and carfentanil is coming over from China. Like, if you do the research about carfentanil, there was a scientist in China who actually rediscovered this formula for carfentanil a long time ago and realized, oh, hey, there's a pretty powerful opiate, and now it's coming into the United States. But anyways, what we're seeing with this trend of people overdosing on stronger drugs that they're getting illegally, you're also seeing doctors prescribe stronger drugs too. So for those of you who just joined, one of the things that this fraud unit is checking for is how many of a doctor's patients died within 60 days of an opioid prescription. And I think that's good because they're going to start looking at it and saying, like, why are you prescribing such powerful, such dangerous medications. I will never forget. This is a story I always tell. I'll never forget this. When the swine flu was going on in the United States, we, myself and my kid's mom, when we were still together, we got the swine flu, and we went to the hospital, and she was getting checked out just to make sure we weren't going to die. And they asked her if she had any pain, and she said, yeah, I got a little bit of a headache. And they gave her morphine. They injected her with IV morphine. I'm sitting there, but I was in my addiction, and I was like, oh, sick, like, cool, morphine. But looking back on it, like, since when do you prescribe morphine for a headache? Like, for those of you who don't know, morphine is like, it's just a less powerful form of heroin. And they gave her that for a headache. Like, what happened to Advil? You know what I mean? So when they're checking to see who dies within the first 60 days of an opioid prescription, hopefully they're going to look at, like, are you prescribing too much stuff? But also, maybe this is going to get doctors more careful, or just be better with their words about how dangerous these drugs can be. You know what I mean? Because there are a lot of accidental overdoses. This came from Xanax and not opioids, but one of my best friends, she had a friend who recently passed away from an accidental overdose from Xanax. So I really think this will help doctors really say how dangerous these drugs are. Now, the next thing that they're going to be checking for is the average age of the patients receiving these prescriptions. Ooh, Jeff Sessions, you the man. Like, oh, man. Like, there's so much stuff, like, on a political, like, type thing. Like, you know, I'm not a huge fan of Jeff Sessions. But, like, Jeff, you got me a little bit on this one. Like, you're doing good with this. So anyways, the average age of patients receiving it, like, hell yeah. The first time I received opioids was I was 16 years old. No, damn, I was 15 years old. I tore my knee up in a football injury, and they gave me a bunch of Lortabs, and, like, they made me sick, so I just didn't take them. But, like, I think, like, this is going to be good. Like, oh my God, there's going to be so much accountability for doctors now. Oh, this is such good news. Such good news. So they're going to start checking the age of the average age of patients receiving these prescriptions. And check this out. Pharmacies that are dispensing disproportionately large amounts of opioids. That's cool too. Now, this is kind of an interesting one for me, and I don't know how this works so much. I've had clients, like, I have clients who come to rehab who are pharmacists, who are nurses, who are doctors, and stuff like that. And I know in some states, like, they have certain systems in place where, like, to make sure people aren't pharmacy hopping and checking and, like, getting opioids from this pharmacy, opioids from that one, and they get, like, a notice, a flag, like, in the system. So, like, I wonder how many states are doing that, but also, like, I'm not as well versed on these smaller pharmacies, like, you know, those mom and pop pharmacies. So this is good. Like, maybe we'll start seeing that maybe some of these pharmacies are, you know, doing something shady. And then it says, and regional hotspots for opioid issues. That's cool too, because we're a very reactive society. And I think this will help track things and hopefully see a trend, because, like I said, like, the opioid epidemic was the worst in the Northeast. And now in the last year or two, you start seeing West Virginia, you start seeing Ohio, Nevada. Like, just so you know, here in Las Vegas, when I was getting high 5 years ago, there was not an opioid problem here. People were doing alcohol, cocaine, prescription drugs. Some of those were opioids. I got clean. I moved back to Las Vegas. Now the locals who I meet who come through treatment, or the locals I meet at meetings, they're coming in for heroin. They're coming in for fentanyl. They're coming in for meth. They're coming in for stuff that people in Vegas weren't doing. So hopefully this helps them start noticing a trend and catch it before it becomes like a crisis in that city or state. So good for you, DOJ. So This next part says, with this data in hand, I am also assigning 12 experienced prosecutors to focus solely on investigating and prosecuting opioid-related healthcare fraud cases in a dozen locations around the country. Those are the ones I just listed a minute ago. It says, where we know enforcement will make a difference in turning the tide on this epidemic. These prosecutors, working with the FBI, DEA, and HHS, Health and Human Services, as well as our state and local partners, will help us target and prosecute these doctors, pharmacies, and medical providers who are furthering this epidemic to line their pockets. Oh, did you hear how that sounded? Oh, that gave me goosebumps. I don't know if you could see it. Oh, man. Let me repeat that. So, it will help us target and prosecute these doctors, pharmacies, and medical providers who are furthering this epidemic to line their pockets. Yes. And I'm so happy about that, because that's something that goes unnoticed, is that some of the worst drug dealers come from the medical industry. We are creating drug addicts. Like, I think with this, like, man, I try not to get my hopes up. I try not to set expectations too high, but I do feel that with some of this stuff, once they go full force with it, I think we're going to start seeing a decline. Like, if me being the betting man in Vegas, like, I don't really gamble, just by the way, but if I had to bet on it, like, I would say that we are going to see a decrease in this problem. Like, this is awesome. So, these prosecutors will be based in several states across the country, including Kentucky, West Virginia, Tennessee, and right here in Southern Ohio. So just like you all know, when he made this announcement and talked about it, it was in Ohio, which is like one of like the crazy sections of the United States for the opioid epidemic. So it says, with these new resources, we will be better positioned to identify, prosecute, and convict some of the individuals contributing to these tens of thousands of deaths a year. The department is determined to attack this opioid epidemic, and I believe these resources will make a difference. Me too, Jeff Sessions. Me too. I think this is going to help. This is great news. Like, again, check the comments. Once I upload this video, I'll put it in the description. But yeah, go check out this full article. Yeah, like, this is some good stuff. I just read a small part of what Jeff Sessions said. So this is exciting stuff. Go check out the full article. Spread the word. Let people know what's going on. Like no matter what your political views are or anything like that, like, I am of the belief that we have to celebrate these victories. You know what I mean? Like, there's a bunch of stuff going on in this country, and some people are mad, they're upset, and very rightfully so. But I'm of the belief, and this is just kind of my political views, like, look at specific situations and then also, you know, be happy about different ones. Because this news right here about this stuff going on to fight the opioid crisis from the medical industry is huge news. It's something that we haven't had. I'm super excited to see where this goes. I'm also excited to do more content on this. You know, the second that they start prosecuting people and stuff, like it's going to be crazy. So, and crazy in a good way. Like, I'm not out here like, yeah, lock all the doctors up. But I feel that we're going to see, like, a lot of people are going to start getting in trouble for what they're doing to fuel this epidemic. And, you know, like, just kind of foreshadowing a little bit, you know, I don't want this to turn into, you know, here in Nevada, for example, we started dealing with a lot of malpractice issues. A lot of doctors were leaving the state because of malpractice suits and stuff. Like, malpractice is malpractice, you know, and then just go to court and see what happened. But, like, I hope this isn't like an excuse for doctors not to go to these states in fear that they're going to get in trouble. No, prescribe opioids to people who need it. Prescribe them in moderation. Give them less, not more. Start off with other remedies, and you won't get in trouble. It's that easy. Like, it's like, don't speed, and you won't get a speeding ticket. It's that simple. Doesn't mean you should avoid those states. Like, just do the right thing. Do the right thing. So anyways, thanks for joining me. This is my first time doing YouTube live. If any of you catch this later, I hope you like it. I'll be doing it. Like, if you're watching this, like, subscribe to my dang channel, because I need to start doing more YouTube live. I want to do it. And if you subscribe, and there's a little bell icon, little tiny bell icon, if you hit that button, you'll get an email or a notification when I go live or when a new video is up about mental illness, mental health, addiction, and all that stuff. Subscribe, hit the little bell icon. If you have any questions, comments, or anything like that, leave them in the comments, or go to my Facebook or go to my Twitter, whatever you got to do, get a hold of me. Like I said, thank you again, Jacob, for sending me this news. This is awesome. You made my day, my man. So this is me signing out. I'm going to go play some video games, and I'll see you next time.